Okay.
For a few minutes. We're live, so
Is that better, Tim? Oh, we're live. I'm sorry.
yes. Well, we're live. We're doing it live, and just waiting for the time for the Twitch pre-roll to go through. So we got about 10 more seconds.
Well, I've adjusted my audio settings and turned off the AC, so maybe we're good.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the latest edition of Engadget Playdate. I myself am Timothy Sepla, associate editor for the Engadget.com website, and I'm joined today by not just my usual compatriot, Mr. Sean Buckley.
Howdy.
I am joined today by Mr. Rex Crowle from Media Molecule.
Hey everyone.
And we are going to be playing a couple hours of Tearaway Unfolded today on the PlayStation 4. And Rex has been kind enough to join us, and he's going to sit in for a little bit while we ask him some questions and we play the video game. So, welcome everybody. I'm going to take us out to the actual gameplay right now.
Woo! And I'm going to change our Twitch page, which has the wrong information.
All right. So thank you everybody for joining us once again. And Rex, how does it feel to have this game out on PlayStation 4? What can you fill us in on what it was like getting, going from the Vita to the PlayStation 4? Because I think what's really impressive about this game is, myself not having played much of the Vita game at all, is that this feels like a native PlayStation 4 game.
Cool. Well, I mean that's exactly what we were aiming for. I think everyone's kind of used to HD remakes, and it's great to be able to play some older titles again and on new platforms. But we really wanted to just go quite wild, really, with an experiment with how we could bring Tearaway to like a new platform, not just porting it over, mainly because it just wouldn't work. We had a go, and it just wasn't happening. Because Tearaway, the original Tearaway, was just so much about the Vita, so much about being a handheld game. We really wanted to explore with that title what it was like to essentially make a world that you were holding in your hands and really feeling, really making the most of the fact that it's a handheld game.
Right.
Whereas as soon as we started to, we finished Tearaway on the Vita, and we were thinking, the extra power of the PS4 was kind of seductive to us. We were wondering what it would mean to our paper world, to bring it onto PS4 and just see how that would look. Because a world made out of a material like this, it's all about the sort of high fidelity of the edging, and on the Vita we put a lot of our hardware budget into making sure that the anti-aliasing was really good.
Right.
And being at 1080p, that was going to look even better. So we knew visually it could work, but we just weren't sure whether the gameplay would work, because every feature in Tearaway on the Vita was all about that handheld system, all of the kind of unique features on there, the back touch, the camera built in. So we followed a similar development process. Again, sort of started from scratch. And just had a game jam, something we do a lot in the studio.
Without my help, these moors will be impossible. Those
Little
windy birds will send you tumbling through the bracken.
Really
but what if the you could fill the sky with gales and ripple the ground with zephyrs? Yes! That would help you beat a ball. But stormy winds need stormy clouds.
There weren't enough inputs on the controller, but the DualShock 4 has just got so much stuff on there. So like the area that you're playing at the moment, this is a whole new area that was that we've created specifically for Unfolded, where we're using the touchpad on the controller to send gusts of wind into the world. Because obviously, like, one of the main things about making a world out of paper is that it can be very, very responsive. I think a lot of game worlds that I explore when I'm playing games, they look beautiful, but I don't necessarily get to like transform them or change them a lot. And a strong reason for us to make a world out of paper was that it could have dramatic transformations, you know, like a pop-up book. Or you could do kind of like we're doing here, you'd be able to simply add to that world. So I'm kind of guessing that's your finger on the touchpad.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Now blow, breathe, and blast.
All around on the touchpad,
Right.
into the game, which is a really cool effect, actually.
yeah. Well, I think, you know, if you just bought a PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 and you turn it on, you've got this light shining out the back of the controller, and you're kind of thinking, well, what's that for? So we kind of really wanted to make sure that the game really used that. We had to put a lot of effort into the pointing, you know, making the triangular light that you see on the screen match the movement of the controller, because we don't require the camera, so it's all done with the gyros in the controller. But it feels like a very immediate way of just being able to sort of essentially kind of touch the world, and because it's a fantastical world, we can make that light that you're shining in not only sort of just guide the character around, you know, like a torch, but just push it a lot further so that it can have like kind of quite sort of dramatic effects on the scenery as well.
Yeah, and one thing that I really noticed that I thought was really interesting is that the game feels all about you, but it doesn't feel patronizing. And that feels like it'd be a really difficult balancing act, because when I'm walking down pathways, you know, flowers are blooming around me, things are happening just because I happen to go through. I'm having such a huge impact on this game, but it doesn't feel like it's holding my hand or like, oh hey, you're doing this, good job for you. It feels very natural, and it feels very fun, and it feels very, I don't know. I'm trying to articulate the best I can, but I feel like I'm failing a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's a constant challenge for us to make sure that we can make a game that some younger players can play, but also that there's some challenge there for older ones as well. And with a lot of the sort of innovative features that we're trying to put in, it's sometimes a challenge to how you come up with a tutorial for those.
Right.
And one of the decisions we took with this title was bringing in these squirrels that will kind of help you out if you're getting stuck, and they're there for, you know, maybe sort of younger players. But if you're not interested in any of that, you can just turn them off and just be, you know, allowed to sort of explore and find your way around. So you maybe actually need the help here, where if you do a swipe on the touchpad, you'll be able to peel up that piece of floor.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, this brand new mechanic was just introduced, and I haven't fully wrapped my head around it yet. Mm-hmm. So there we go.
You were saying earlier that you couldn't have made this game on the PS3. Was that ever something that you were approached with the option of doing? Did they say, hey, this was great, do you want to make a PS3 version, or was it straight like, hey, the PS4 is perfect for this?
I mean, we didn't even investigate it, to be honest. I mean, obviously, we wanted to make the most of the visual power of the system, and then also Tearaway is all about the inputs as well. So
right.
You know, not having anything to map over the you know, any sort of like touch style interface on there made it very tricky for us to even sort of investigate.
And I think what's really impressive is that nothing about this feels gimmicky with the controls at all. Because with a lot of the PlayStation games, well, not with a lot of the PlayStations, but with a lot of games that try to make use of different, you know, unique controller aspects, regardless of what platform it's on. Like if you look at Infamous, where you would have to shake the controller and then use it like a spray paint can. It felt a little tacked on, but this all feels so intrinsic, and it doesn't feel cheap or anything. It feels so well thought out and deliberate, and I think that's really, 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 really impressive.
Cool. Well, you know, we try and make sure that all of the mechanics that we bring in have a strong metaphor to them. You know, you understand the relationship between what you're doing and what is happening in the game world. So, you know, like with the wind, when you swipe on the touchpad, it makes perfect sense that you swipe on the touchpad and then you see the wind almost sort of like leave the pad and then go into the world.
Right.
Rather than feeling like you're moving a pointer around, or, you know, not really understanding the relationship between the two.
Right, and even touching pushing in the touchpad to affect the drum skins is really, really neat as well. And like you said, it makes sense because you're not you're seeing it kind of come out of the controller. It's not just some ancillary object.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to figure out how to get out of this area. Oh, there it is. There we go.
Someone in chat is joking. You know, you could have always used the touch features on the PS3 chat pad attachment. So, you know, you could have had a whole market base of like 15 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, and we were talking about this before with the light bar, and we have a regular in chat. His name is Yodel, and he always asks about light bar support. So what were some of the things that you guys wanted to address with the light bar support, like changing colors and things of that nature to convey information to the player?
I mean, the light bar, you know, as well as the as pointing and gesturing around the world, the light bar is like really useful for us to be able to make the pad feel like it's changed state depending on what's happening in the well, kind of make the pad feel like it's come to life at certain parts in the game. So it's not a feature that you've currently got unlocked, although when we get to the end of this level, you'll actually see it for the first time, which is where you can pick up objects and throw them into the pad, and it actually changes like the colour of the pad. You can hear the characters that you've thrown in, like, you know, making noises through the pad speaker. So it's been kind of an important thing to us to make the pad feel like it's coming to life. It's almost like when you first bought your PS4, like the controller is almost like a little bit of Tearaway that you didn't know about,
right?
That you know that's already there.
Where do they come from?
Nothing to do with me.
I think it's really interesting. Like, I think this is a good candidate for porting to the PS4, particularly because the Vita version of this game does so much to utilize all the features of the Vita that most games sort of ignore. You know, it has this, it uses everything. It uses the back touchpad to poke your finger into the world. It uses the camera to show you as the user looking into the world. Lots of little interesting things. And I kind of feel like the PS4 controller, the DualShock 4, which you just called, you know, like a little piece of Tearaway, is perfect for that in the same regard that the game's just sort of treated as the same thing as the PS3 pad isn't. So it's always nice to see a game that, like, says, no, look at all this new stuff we can do. Let's use it.
Right, and this even utilizes the PlayStation camera as well to do the functions like you were talking about, Sean, with the playing, you know, putting yourself into the actual world, which is really neat.
I didn't know that if you have the camera, you can do that as well.
Yep, there's a photo mode, and you can pull open the camera, and I'll show you. Granted, it's going to show my empty living room because I'm playing in my office, but there's a photo mode that you can choose, and one of the filters available is called the quantum filter. And what it does is, there's my living room. What it does is it shows off whatever your camera is seeing, your PlayStation camera is seeing, and putting it into the world.
See, I like that, Rex. I really like that you guys integrate those features, because I feel like as an industry, we introduce these new technologies, and then a lot of developers don't use them or back off from them, and it's kind of a shame. So it's really nice to see. It's nice to see Tearaway. Both the Vita version and this version really use that. Like, I'm actually playing around with the Vita version right now, and it's sort of just delightful to be able to stick my finger into the world. Did we lose Rex?
Rex, are you there? I think we might have lost Rex.
I think we lost
Rex.
Let's take a look and see if we can get him back.
He says he has no sound at the moment, so he's dealing with that.
Oh, well, if he had heard that, he would have heard how much I was praising his game. So while I'm asking Tim, why don't I ask you some questions about your experience? You're pretty early in the game here?
Yeah, I am. I would say I'm past the intro section. From what I can tell, new mechanics are added with every level. And the intro section, you can't even jump. The only way you can jump is by going on to drum pads and then pressing the touchpad, and it makes the drum skins bounce. So that's how you jump. And then at the end of that, you're given the opportunity to start jumping by pressing the X button. It's a lot to get used to, because I was like, why can't I jump? Why can I only do this? This is really strange. And then it came in and it started working. I was like, oh, there we go.
It's easing you into it. So I was wondering, one of the elements in the PSP's intro game is it uses the touch your finger on the back very heavily. You know,
right.
So that's how you defeat some enemies. It's how you can only jump in the intro level is by pushing you up. But is that still present in this version of the game, or is that something they had to take out? I've been really curious.
I can't tell at the moment, because I haven't had to do that. A lot of the things that I've done is just using the light bar and aiming the controller on the screen, and using the touchpad to draw out objects. So this is the thing. This crown this really, really crappy looking version of a crown that I have right next to me, that is something that I drew and I gave to a squirrel. I drew that with the paper cutting system, and I put that blue jewel on, and if you look closely, I'm actually wearing that on my head.
The jewel or the crown?
The crown. It's on the leaf on the back. It's hard to see.
Oh, it's very small. Yeah, yes. I see it.
But the squirrel wanted me to wear the crown as well. Rex, do we have you back?
I heard a sound, but I'm not sure.
It's the PlayStation intro sound that's happening. That's the PS4 intro.
That's interesting. Is he playing the PS4? Is he streaming through the PS4 somehow to us?
I don't think so, no. I'm almost positive he's not.
Rex, we miss you. Yaddle, well, let's go back to chat while we wait.
Okay.
Yaddle says the Skype volume is better, which is nice. He says that PS3 chat pad never worked anyway, and that Tearaway uses all the parts of the buffalo.
That's a very very, very, very apt idiom to bring here.
To the PS4, yeah, to the usage. Duke is saying there was no light bar in the support, so no light bar support on the PS3, so this would have been impossible.
Right. Also, Yaddle says I have to use the rounded scissors because I can't be trusted with the pointy ones. That is sadly true.
Hey!
You're back!
Welcome back! Are you back? No! Wait a second. Hello! I can hear you. Uh-oh. Let me pop into chat.
Okay. Sean, if you would be so kind as to mute yourself, because you have that very loud mechanical keyboard.
I want the world to know I'm typing, Tim. It's very important to me.
Okay.
If our chatters don't know I have the loudest keyboard in the world, who will?
So, as you can see right now, it's bringing in mechanics from the previous level. So with this drum pad, I'm actually able to reach places I otherwise might not have, because that is very tall. Let's see if I can get back over here and get these extra pieces of confetti. And the confetti is how you buy new things like camera filters and parts to put on your adorable little person like mine, who has 4 mouths and 1 eye and an X for an eye.
The X for the eye?
Oh yeah, see, he has an X over his eye. And 4 mouths to feed.
Oh, I see. Wait, 4 mouths?
4 mouths.
You designed that on purpose, or?
Maybe. I wanted to see how terrifying I could make this while it still looked adorable. And I don't think it's possible to make anything terrifying in this game. You just constantly make everything look adorable.
That's true, it doesn't look so. Tim, can you just hold on for 1 second?
Yeah.
Our buddy here, Rex, says you should probably hang up on him in the call and call him back.
Okay, I will do that.
So let's just try that. In the meantime, 4 mouths is pretty terrifying. I noticed you drew a nose out of mouths.
Yes.
Very creative.
Well, this is the other thing. So, this game really, like I was talking with Rex, and when he gets back in, I want to talk to him about it further. This game utilizes so much of the stuff that you do in so many different little subtle ways. So at one point last night, I had to draw what I thought a butterfly wing looked like. And then that shape is now on every single butterfly that you see in the game. It has those shaped wings. That crown that you saw on the ground, that's something that I drew, and it's coming into the game in just different ways. These weird-looking things on the banners, that's a cloud that I drew while we had Rex on, and it's also on these barrels. Yeah, it's so many little subtle things to make you feel important in the world. And it doesn't make it, to me, it doesn't feel patronizing. It doesn't say, oh, hey, you did all this great stuff. Keep looking at it. We're going to make you do all this more great stuff. Keep looking, keep looking. It's so sincere and so adorable. And I absolutely think this game is fantastic.
I think we lost him again.
Oh, no.
I can call him, but then it would hang up on you, so that doesn't do you any good.
I will hang up on him, and I'm going to hang up on him, and then I'll call him back again.
You can hang up. Oh, it looks like we're calling him back, so let's see if this works. So it looks like the intro level is significantly different then, because in my version of the game that I have right here,
yes,
the intro level looks really different, and it's very heavy on the touch aspect. So the fact that you don't have that, it makes me wonder if it was either removed from the game entirely, or it's now a different, because you poke down when you touch the PS4 pad versus poking up through the world, so it makes it wonder if it's different. It's interesting,
when we get Rex back, we can talk about that.
Yeah, I'd really like to talk to him about that. Because Joseph wants to know what Media Molecule did graphically different on the PS4 from the Vita version. I can't say what they did that's different, but I can say that just looking at the two side by side, the Vita version looks great in your hand, in the Vita. Like, contextually, knowing what the Vita can do, it looks really good. It's very stylized, but it looks just so much crisper. There's just a lot more detail. Even through the stream, you can tell.
Yeah, and this game, again, I have to caveat this like we did with Forza. This game looks much better locally than it does streaming. It looks absolutely amazing locally.
I think the biggest difference I can see, just looking at the two right now, is the Vita version has more flat textures.
Right.
Where there's actual more texture design. Like, I've seen a lot of flat colors in the Vita version, where there's so much more detail on every surface. That gives you more of a weight, like this is cardboard, this is this kind of paper, it's this thick, that makes it all the materials look more realistic, and then when they act like actual paper does, it just kind of completes the illusion.
Okay, I'm going to try and bring Rex in again, so 1 second.
We could also cancel the call for a minute and see if me hosting works better, so I can add him repeatedly.
Okay, yeah, if that doesn't work this time, then we can do that. Oh, Rex, do we have you? Rex?
I can hear Rex, but I can't hear Rex.
Right, we can hear Media Molecule's offices, but we cannot hear Rex.
One step closer, guys.
So, apologies for the technical difficulties, everybody, but thank you for tuning in early today. We have to run the stream early because the folks at Media Molecule are in England, and England is quite a few hours ahead of us. And so in order for the system in order for this to work, and so they're not staying in the office until midnight, we had to move the stream just a little bit earlier. So thanks everybody that's tuning in and joining us for this.
Oh, so Max, or not Max, Rex, sorry, 3-letter words. Rex can hear the Skype ringtone at his end, but he can't hear us, but we can hear him. So this is very interesting.
Okay, so I'm going to hang up the call, and I'll just run solo for a little bit, and then you can add me in.
Okay.
Alright, I will do that right now. See you in a few, Sean. Okay, so thanks everybody for suffering through some of these technical difficulties with us. Just a little bit of the jank is back. Oh gosh, and then I died. Hello.
Hi, Tim.
Hey.
1 second. We're back, and I'm trying to call Rex, but it's we don't know, man. This is international conversation.
Right. It's I don't want to say it's unprecedented because I've done Skype interviews in Poland before. Well, with somebody from Poland, and it was great. Oh my gosh! So this section has me having the wind blow in different directions to do different things, and it has different effects.
So does your player character feel like really light?
No, he feels good. There's some good amount of weight to him.
Well, because I mean, like with the wind, you think it might blow you away.
Oh no! There's no. Oh, the controller vibrates a little bit. It's very subtle, and you can see that I'm starting to shake a little bit in the wind. But it's not like it feels like I'm going to get blown away. KnifeX Prun, very good to see you. Haven't seen you in chat in a while, so thank you for joining us. And we're going to be streaming for about another hour. So we're trying to get everything sorted out so we can have Media Molecule, because we have some more questions for them, and we want to talk to them more because this game is fantastic. So if you guys want to stick around, that'd be awesome. And I want to say thanks to everybody that has tuned in, all the regulars. And if you are a new viewer and you like what we're doing and you like what you're seeing, hit that follow button right underneath the player window, and that will give you an alert whenever we start streaming. So in case we do more early streams like this instead of running at our usual time, which is 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, you will be alerted and you can tune in right away.
I'm troubleshooting with that Skype sound you just heard. That was me helping Max troubleshoot, or not Max. I'm sorry, Rex.
Rex. Oh, whoa, Rex! We heard you.
Well, we can hear Rex, but he can't hear us. Is the issue?
Oh, Skype! Why are you the worst?
Yeah, and Skype's making all the other sounds for him, but oddly not our sound. So I'm trying to see if I can figure out what the issue is. Anyone who's a Skype expert in chat, please offer your advice of various kinds. Oh, you know, I bet what's happened is, like, I'm going to tell him something. I think I know what's wrong.
Okay. It might be the audio output device he's using. Possibly, perhaps. So, Sean, how is your Thursday going so far?
Well, this stream was unexpectedly soon, but aside from that, very good. I woke up to roofers, very, very loud roofers, redoing
Working on your no, the house you live in?
No, my mother-in-law's house. We've been staying over. So San Francisco's going through a little bit of a heat wave right now, and we were at, I think, 106 yesterday. And so when it gets this hot and we can't quite compete, we go to my mother-in-law's house because she's got a nice big house with air conditioning and a refrigerator full of food that I just can't afford. And so
and apparently pretty good, solid internet as well.
Pretty solid. Well, no, we're not there now.
Oh.
Their internet is actually the most locked down internet I know because her father works for Oracle.
Oh,
and,
right.
Working at home for Oracle, which he does about half of his work at home, has extremely strict rules. And so it is the most complicated lockdown internet. To change his internet settings, he has to go into a special Oracle. I don't know what Oracle's operating system is, but he has to do the whole thing through there.
Okay.
And it's quite impressive, to be honest. So basically, it's impossible for me to work from there because it's so protected I can't even log into our work chat.
Ah, got it.
Yeah. So but it's very good. It's very fast if you can do anything on it.
Well, so Sean, I don't know if you're watching this. I would hope you are, but I've learned not to make assumptions. But this game is just really neat. I just had I can't tell you why. It's a line from a Steven Seagal movie called Under Siege 2: Dark Territory. And it's not safe to explain on a stream.
Oh. Well, then why did you bring it up? Because I don't know.
Well, I've just learned not to make assumptions because it's never good to do so. But I just had to roll on what looked like a wine barrel, and then I had to stand on top of it and balance it while I blew the wind to direct me toward another area. So I had to balance on top of that, and it was pretty fantastic. This game is so cute and so inventive, and it promotes creativity. I would say, for me, somebody that doesn't get into the kind of build your own fun games or the game maker games, so Little Big Planet, while I appreciate what it is and it's very well crafted and it's beautiful, it is just not for me. It doesn't do anything for me. But this game it's hitting all of the right notes for me in a way. It's making
you feel like you're creative, even though someone else did all the work.
Exactly. That's exactly that. It is making me feel just creative enough and giving me just enough, options to do things that I feel like I'm having a direct impact on the world without having to do an awful lot.
We're waiting. I think Rex is trying some new settings. See, that's what's nice about this game. That's what I love about games. Very creative very artistic tones. Like, it's not a typical game. They not only took a paper style, but they made the game with all of that in mind. And it's so creative that it makes you, the player, feel more creative.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's and those kind of experiences, they sort of transcend that idea. It's like I'm not an artist, but this game makes me feel like an artist. Or how the Bit Trip Beat and Bit Trip Runner games. I'm not a musician, but when I play those games, I kind of feel like I'm creating music.
Yeah, and those actually, the Bit Trip games are getting a really cool vinyl soundtrack release as well through IM8-bit.
That's great to hear, because there's some amazing tracks in there that I'm not good enough at the game to hear.
Yes, and it comes with when you pre-order it, it ships in December. I think it's $25. But you get digital soundtrack codes for all the games and download tokens for all of the games, as well as a really neat looking record. It's a colored picture disc that looks really, really, really gorgeous.
See, they're doing so good. The vinyl comeback has been pretty amazing with some of those special editions they're making.
Yeah, it's really neat to see, because video game soundtracks themselves have gotten very, very, very good. I mean, it's not just, beeps and boops anymore. It's stuff that I really enjoy listening to outside of playing a video game. And it's nice to see that stuff getting recognized. I mean, I bought the crazy expensive Last of Us soundtrack because it's really good. And I've bought plenty of video game soundtracks, and I like the game soundtracks that transcend more than just being background noise.
And that's part of what I think we're getting into is an era of that, where we're returning. The funny thing is about great game music is in a lot of games it was an afterthought that just turned out to be great.
Right.
And now we're getting composers that are like, this is their goal. They want to create great music for films and TV. You know, like, it's the same thing like movie soundtracks. I think they didn't used to be a thing, and then
you just had like the old-timey ragtime piano and stuff for silent films, and it's like, oh, okay, it worked. It serviced the story, but not in a way that was like you would probably think about it after you got walked out of the theater.
Right. Then over time, it became about they would buy soundtracks. That I think that maybe this is a guess, but maybe that came after the MGM musical era, where people wanted to hear the music again, much like how they sell a lot of soundtracks on vinyl for musicals and such. Like, for instance, this is totally off subject, but talking about media music in the first place, the film and stage show Jesus Christ Superstar was actually just an album at first that was said, this would be a musical if we had the money to make it, and then they did because the album sold well. So, I mean, sometimes music can be the motivator that creates that kind of art. And I'd actually seen it on the Shield. I really like that crown, the paper crown of yours.
Yeah, it's really neat. I'm just trying to figure out where I need to go exactly from here, so let me take a look here.
Rex could tell us if we could hear him.
Wow, Sean.
I'm not mad at him. I'm just
mad at technology.
I'm just it's I'm gonna hang up on him and call him back, even though he's not responding. That I ought to do that. We'll see if that works.
Okay.
And if we get really lucky, something will go through there.
Hopefully.
Oh, so what are the squirrel guides? Are they like your quest markers?
They help. If you get stuck in an area, they'll pop up and they'll be like, oh, hey, this is what you need to do. And it's never to the point where it's like, oh gosh, I really need to do this, or it doesn't feel like oh crap, like a punishing tutorial. They're never they're not being dicks. Squirrels in real life might be dicks. They might chew through your vinyl siding and cause havoc in your home. But in Tearaway, they are not dicks. They are very helpful.
Squirrels are like this. See, here you are insulting squirrels, but I think 3 or 4 streams ago, didn't you shoot one in the face?
Let's not talk about that, okay? I'd rather put that behind us.
Well, it's. I want you to know about it.
I've already kind of shuddered that away in my subconscious, never to think of again, and then you just keep bringing it back up, Sean.
You gotta live through the trauma, man. You gotta live through the trauma to heal.
Well, that's kind of what the theme of Until Dawn was, was living through trauma to heal.
Yaddle says the heat is getting to Sean. He's blaming these outbursts on the heat, and he's totally right. I had to turn my air conditioner off, and I want to go back to my mother-in-law's house.
Rex in the Skype chat says he has headphones on, but no audio, nothing so far. He might need to change his settings on Skype with making sure that the audio is going through to his headphones.
Maybe we should just wait for him to restart his computer, I think. Oh, he's going to say there's trying dialing in from another PC. That should work.
Okay, cool. now I'm going to figure out where I need to go from here, because this is a little bit tricksy.
It's that old joystick jank, man.
But, you know, that's the thing, is we haven't had any jank coming through in a while, and now it's just, it's slapping us real hard.
When we need stuff to work the most is when it just comes and hits us, so...
Phrasing.
What? 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 Why is everything phrasing with you? Can't you just be an innocent man?
My innocence is playing this video game, which is absolutely adorable and makes me feel like a kid again.
I love the horse cutout on that bridge.
I did not make that.
Oh well, it's. But yeah, I mean that's kind of. He said it was sort of made. He talks about like what they do to make it fun for kids, you know, to make it adaptable. And what he was talking about there was like the quest markers and things that help you figure out what to do if you are young and might not be able to reason that out or whatever. But I think the style here is sort of it's if something looks youthful and genuinely fun, it kind of becomes that.
Right, and also the color palette makes a big difference in this too.
Right,
there are areas when you're playing through, and it's very drab and dreary, and because the scraps have taken over, and then it as you go through and you start transforming the world, it becomes much more colorful and much more alive and much more vibrant. And I'm really into that because we've talked about this before. I'm super, super, super into color and how it's used to convey mood and feelings in games. So seeing that actively used by this game makes me so, so, so happy.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is probably just more indicative of a budget and time constraints than anything. You don't see a lot of games that put that much thought into the design and color that turn out to be really bad shovelware. You know?
Right. Oh, definitely. I was curious where you were going to go with that phrase or that statement, and then I was like, I agree with that entirely.
Right. Like, I mean, occasionally you'll get one that tries to do something interesting, but it's obvious they didn't have the budget for it. So most of those bad games don't even try to put that much creative thought into it. And so usually when you have that style, I mean, it's not a sure thing, but it's kind of like, this game is probably all right in its own context at the very least, but most of the time they're good, just simply because they had that time to consider what art direction do we want to take, and then to really pour their hearts into that.
Right, and I've spoken with plenty of art directors before, and this is with Halo 4, and I was talking with the folks at 343 Industries a couple years ago, and they said that when they even just started storyboarding, they did color maps to decide what colors were going to go to work to convey the moods that they wanted to in particular sections of the game and in particular scenes specifically. And that type of stuff is really, really, really interesting. And when it's done well, it's you don't really even notice it. It's just very subtle, and it's very, very powerful when used properly. Color is an amazing tool to use, and it's nice to see that a lot more game developers are actively grabbing that wrench out of their toolbox and taking advantage of it.
Yeah, it's especially great when you look back just a couple episodes ago. We were talking about Gears of War, which looks great for what it is, but doesn't have that super wide color palette. I mean, to be fair, it has a ton of color in it. It's just all within the same range. It's in the same range, and there's tons of variation in that if you really want to separate all the colors. But when you have super wide color ranges, that you can totally evoke all sorts of emotion just on color alone. That's why we have great photographs that are just good color exposure, or that are using negative films in new and exciting ways, or black and white photos, the absence of color. Like color and shading can change your entire emotional palette.
Oh, entirely. And so this is the thing too: is color. If you have too much color on screen, you can actually overwhelm a player, and it's hard to convey information that way. It becomes a cacophony of just absolute craziness, and it's impossible to keep track of what's going on because your brain physically cannot process all of the information that's being tossed at once.
Yeah, see the tie-dye movement of the 1960s.
That's why I'm uncomfortable around hippies.
It was too much. You need to... You alright there?
Yeah, I'm okay.
A lot of wind?
Yeah.
You need to use, to make sense of tie-dye, you need brain-enhancing, quote-unquote, enhancing drugs. I gotta stop bringing up drugs.
Yeah, Sean, I mean, last stream you were talking about using crack and heroin and...
No, neither of those.
Son of a...
It was a comparison to explain,
it
made
what,
sense.
Sean?
Context, it made sense at the time.
No, it did not.
These,
I mean, if we're going to talk about making sense of this time, I'm going to start talking about drinking antifreeze again.
Oh, right. These spinning platforms look like honeycombs to me, and it's making me think about Banjo-Kazooie.
Rex, is that you?
I could hear. I think he's. Oh! I heard it.
Rex.
I heard it. Rex.
Hello.
Rex!
Hey, you're back!
This is the most exciting day ever.
We literally just like built a new laptop. So all the keys are in the wrong order, but the microphone's working.
That's all that counts for this right now.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, so this is kind of like it's the ghost and the it's the joystick revenge, like the
jank.
The jank. It survives on our Twitch channel just to mess with us.
So, we've been talking a lot, and Sean, you wanted to ask about the differences between how the intro level, how they approach the intro level on the PlayStation 4 versus the PlayStation Vita with the poking through the world.
All right. While you were gone, I was playing around with the intro level, and we were talking about how it kind of slowly, you don't have jump right away and various other features. And I was noticing that in the intro level on the Vita build that I'm playing around with, there's a lot of finger poking through the world, and I'm not seeing any of that here. So is that, or any other features, something you had to like rethink or eliminate that just isn't present? Because it's kind of a reimagining, not really a remake, right?
Yeah. Well, when we were looking at the features that we had on the Vita, we were kind of evaluating which ones would work or how they would work, and for certain things we just really identified that they just would not port over, and it would actually be a disservice to Tearaway to try and kind of shoehorn them into the new title. So things like the pushing your fingers into the world, we just had to get rid of that. It felt like that is like such an integral feature on the Vita, using the touchpad to push into the world, that just needed to be special for the Vita.
Right.
If anyone wants to push their fingers into a world, well, they need to get a Vita and play Tearaway. That's probably only going to happen in that game on that system. So, and then to make the most of the PS4, we would come up with a bunch of new mechanics that would make the most of that. We actually at one stage we tried prototyping the finger by turning the pad, the Shot 4, upside down and then pressing on it.
Oh man!
It's kind of funny to do it once. You're kind of like, what?
Yeah.
But that's not really that ergonomic.
As a consistent mechanic, that would be strange. Yeah.
Right. That kind of ties into what I was saying with at that point that would have felt kind of gimmicky. I feel like the spray paint thing in Infamous Second Son.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it needs to be really natural, the relationship between what you're doing kind of outside of the world and then what's happening inside of it.
Yeah, I think your audio dropped off at a whole point where I was gushing about what I love about Tearaway on both systems. I don't know how much of that you heard, but here we go again.
Maybe the phone lines just couldn't take it.
Could not handle the creativity.
Right. I mean, in full disclosure, I've only played a little bit of each game because my Vita, I just unfortunately don't use it very much. But I have a soft spot for both Tearaway and Tearaway Unfolded, because they do things that I feel like a lot of games today don't, where we have this world where we have the next console cycle and we add in a bunch of new features and ideas, and a lot of developers just don't use them and they get forgotten about, or in the case of the Xbox One, removed from the core system altogether, the Kinect. Whereas Tearaway took on the Vita and said, let's use everything. And it uses everything in an extent that on the Vita that's almost shocking in detail, like that finger poking up thing. If you move your camera around, you realize it's actually using the rear camera to see the world that you're actually in, which is pretty incredible. And if you do, so you know that you're oh yeah. It uses the touchpad. It uses the gyroscope. It uses almost every feature available to it that's new and unique to that system. And that's why I think Tearaway Unfolded was such an intriguing port for the PS4, is because you guys have a history of doing that. And a lot of the things that are on the PS4 that make it unique and interesting, like the light bar and the touchpad and of course the 6-axis control, most developers kind of ignore that stuff, and it's a shame.
And I was just about to complain about the camera here, but I was able to, because I couldn't see when I was going up the stairway. but I just I touched the touchpad. This is I'm not just interrupting. This actually makes sense. Oh,
Okay, I was wondering.
I touched the touchpad to pull away the paper on the outside of the structure, and I was able to see through.
Oh, see, that's so charming.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to just fawn over your work here, but so that's what I mean. I really appreciate that when you guys designed the game, you really looked at the tools available to you on an exclusive platform and made the most of it. And I feel like a lot of teams don't do that because they're either playing to multi-platform or they're just worried that it's too radical of an idea.
Yeah, I think that is
Use the wind.
that is it really. In that a lot of games are multi-platform now, so you kind of have to move back to sticks and buttons because that's what all the platforms share. So yeah, well, I mean we're in a very lucky position that Sony, you know, being part of Sony, they treat us well and let us get our hands on with their new with their new bits of kit, and we kind of play with them like excited kids, really. You know, we poke and prod them and tear them apart and try and figure out what we can use all these features for, as if we didn't really know what they were designed for.
Right, and that's I don't know. I think it's a creativity. A creativity that developers have to exercise that it's just, I feel, in many ways underappreciated. I also particularly like Tearaway because it's one of the few console games that can't be ported to the PC, really.
Yeah.
For the same way, it validates me as a PlayStation buyer.
Cool.
You know? And so I think that's really just something that makes it. Wow, what just happened on screen there?
A lot of things. Hey Rex, would it be possible for you to boost your audio somehow? We're getting people saying that you're very quiet.
You might just lose me completely again.
Well,
I know.
Let's risk it. If you go into the Skype tools, there should be an option to turn off the volume's automatic adjustment. If you could turn that off and drag it up, that should help. Because we're having some chat people say that you're a little bit quiet. They really want to know what you have to say.
Yeah, so I think I just hit the area where Rex was telling us earlier about where you can start pulling stuff into the controller and throwing things at the screen somehow.
Oh,
Hold
yeah,
your controller upright and press square to throw the squirrel into your controller. I have a squirrel in my controller now, and now Yodel.
Uh-oh. So that's I think you turned up the audio of us. Did we lose Rex?
Hey, hello.
Oh. Hey, Rex.
Yeah, how's the audio now?
That's good. Well, I don't know if you're good. I know we're louder. So the volume for us went up. I don't know if the volume for your mic went up. We'll have to wait for someone to report.
Also, there's some echo too.
Yeah, that's the echo. We can hear ourselves through your speakers. So we could turn our audio down a little bit. And turn yours up a little bit. It's very, very complicated.
There are a lot of moving parts.
A lot of there's a lot to doing a pod. Have you been on many streams or podcasts, Rex?
One. You might be able to tell not that many.
No, it's a bit of a science making a computer do what you want to record a show, and as our listeners are quite aware of it. So when you do it live, it all goes on display. It's pretty fun. G Harmux 14 wants to know how far in this is to the game.
This is about the third level.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so maybe well, it depends how fast you play.
Couple hours. I've been taking my time. I think we're including the time on the stream. This would be about 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So that's not too far in. So how many levels are there total?
You know, I'm not sure I've counted them. Because we have a streaming system, I don't really think about them as levels.
That's right.
There's a hub. There's a hub zone.
Yeah. I mean, there's 3 major regions, each with probably about a dozen. No, about half, maybe 8 sort of distinct areas for each one.
You're not very good at throwing squirrels, Tim.
I'm only good at shooting them in the face when I mistime things. This is what I've discovered.
Do you have any squirrel throwing tips for him, Rex?
I would, because it looks like you've already got one inside the controller. So if you now swipe on the touchpad.
Oh, there we go.
Do you need to load it?
Oh yeah, there we go. Fixed. Thank you, Rex.
So did you ever expect to make Tearaway Unfolded, like, or when you wrapped the first game, were you just planning to be done with it and move on to your next project? Was like this a surprise to you? I'm kind of curious of the story about how this came about.
Yeah,
it was in development for a while.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it was essentially, whenever you finished a project, you have a little bit of downtime when you're, you're figuring out what to do next, and really the whole project came about from some members on the team really just starting to experiment with what would be possible, and for quite a long time it was not clear whether we would actually do anything with the experiments or not, and it was only really when we built up a library of features that we felt would bring Tearaway to PS4 in the way that it deserved to be there, that we kind of took the plunge. So yeah, it was a little while before we got started.
Now, do you consider this a sequel or just another version of the original Tearaway?
It's kind of it's always a little bit hard to position it in that there aren't a lot of other games that do something like this. I tend to think more about movies where a movie like The Evil Dead 2 is kind of a bigger version of the first. Maybe not the first thing you'd think of when you look at Tearaway, but
yeah, not exactly.
Not the exact opposite, actually.
Funny thing is, I didn't even question that at all. I'm like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. And then he's like, but Tearaway, cuteness.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of it's closer to a sequel than a HD remake, because we have rebuilt all of the landscapes, pretty much all of the mechanics have changed to use properly use the PS4. The soundtrack's been expanded on. We've rewritten all the dialogue and all the voiceovers as well. So, we sort of started kind of quite conservatively at the beginning of the project, and we just kind of got carried away with ourselves, really. So,
are there any specific areas that are the same, where if you played both versions, that we wouldn't see a significant difference, or has the reimagined levels been changed so much that they're not that recognizable?
I don't think there's not a lot of levels that are. Probably a few places like the barn that you would recognise more at the start, kind of an internal level. But then again, because the gameplay is all changed, and the way that you navigate through that space, then we had to sort of do the equivalent of sort of. It's like we basically did a remodelling. We kind of got the builders in and ripped up the floor and took down the walls and opened some rooms out, and particularly because when you are on a bigger screen, you kind of need a little bit more space. It's not quite such a small, intimate world to look into. So everything's kind of just been scaled up and developed more that way.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other games that are like Tearaway in that they're not technically a sequel, but they're pretty much a sequel. They've been reimagined to the extent that they're for all intents and purposes a new game. And the closest thing I can think of is Super Mario Galaxy 2, which is technically a sequel, but it's basically like they said, I think we could take that first game we made and do it better. And that's the closest comparison I can think of, because there's not a lot of times where you remaster a game, quote unquote, but don't really just gussy up the graphics, where you just basically remake the game.
Yeah.
And not remake the same game. Like we're just taking the same idea and running with it again.
Sure. Yeah.
So it seems kind of unique as far as your career path goes.
And I'm starting to think that when you said that you are kind of given free reign to play with Sony's toys and their new toys, I have to ask. Have you guys This feels like it could be a really good fit for Morpheus.
We like to, we'll, you know, carry on playing around with new toys. And
I mean, I'm just guessing that might be one of the toys you've played with, regardless whether or not you've done anything with it.
To be honest, I'm quite excited about playing around with the PS3 chat pad at the moment. So,
see, that's creative development right there.
So Joseph in chat, our editor, Mr. Joseph Volpe, he asks if there was anything... Let's see if I can find it really quick. Oh. He asked if there was anything that you guys did graphically different on the PlayStation 4 from the Vita version at Media Molecule.
So yes, I mean, the lighting system has all been rewritten. I think what was really clear to us is just how important shadows are in our world, in the art style. And with the style, we're trying to remove any digital artifacts. You know, that we don't want you to see any pixels. So, you know, having the game running at 1080p with loads of anti-aliasing, so that there's no sort of shimmer. That you're not getting any sort of like a digital look to it.
Right.
So it was a huge amount of the effort that our engine coder Mark put into the game was getting the shadows looking really good this time.
Yeah, because the shadows really help to add the depth and make it feel like it's not just flat, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean it's a bold, colourful world, but it's all about the sort of nuances of the way the lighting catches a piece of paper. You know, the way that things make contact or don't quite make contact is what gives it that real three-dimensional look. We've also got actual edging on the paper this time round, so you can see it actually has a little bit of thickness as well. So yeah, I mean it's often about, for us, looking at all of the details and making sure that each crease of paper, as you walk on it, it squashes down, so you have a very sort of tactile feel. So that you're both looking very closely at the world, but also looking far away and, you know, looking at those big epic vistas as well. But it's kind of it's something I feel very strongly about, that in games it's important to treat a game as the whole and not just a lot of assets on screen. So I think sometimes without like really strong art direction, you can end up with a game which is everything's kind of fighting a bit too much. You know, if you were to paint a picture of a landscape, you wouldn't put as much effort or as much detail into something that's far away as you would up close, because you know the eye just doesn't perceive the world like that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean our art style is designed to be, you know, up close you see all of the details, and then far away you see, you know, the simple shapes are you know, sort of filling in the gaps.
We were talking about... Oh, go on.
And like you said, it was really interesting that you mentioned it. Something I didn't notice it offhand at first is how you said that you like to make it seem like when you are walking with your character on a path, that they are definitely pushing down on it. And it's something that I'm noticing around here, and it's just it's so charming. It's these little things. For a moment last night when I was playing, I was wondering, did they just scan in pieces of construction paper to get this to look right? Because I was just so enamored, and I'm still blown away every time I play this game by just how gorgeous it is and how much thought and how much care. It's tangible.
I mean, what was very what really helps with that look is that we've got our own custom, not just custom engine, but our own editor where we actually do build everything as you would if you were making it out of real paper. You know, it's not like we're building things in Maya or 3D Max or something like that, because it never looks right, because you're not having the same. It was important to us to not just simulate the material, but simulate the way you build things with that material. So it's actually kind of quite slow and laborious for us, but for a scene like you can see on screen at the moment, we would actually start off with a single piece of paper and put a fold in it and fold it up, and then put another fold in it and fold that up and cut a hole in it, and
That was the first thing I noticed about the first screenshot that Tim sent me when he was fawning over the game. Is in the background there was this carefully built platform that was built out of cardboard in just the same way you might if you were making a diorama in for a class project or something.
Cool. Yeah.
And that was what struck me, and it ties in what we were discussing earlier about how important art style is to like games that obviously put a lot of love and care in them. They usually have a very refined art style. It goes to show like little details like that, or how the paper goes down, is stuff that you might not consciously notice, but it's what makes the world feel believable to you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the thing you're always trying to do with games is just suspend everyone's disbelief, and a game is only as good as the lowest bar of any asset or anything on screen. So if something is breaking the illusion, then you've got to kind of try and fix that. Right,
and you have this challenge of creating a world that's believable and makes sense within its own context.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine living paper, because all kids they'll play with paper and fold paper or make dolls or whatever when they're a kid. But actually making it come to life and making it feel like that makes sense. It's kind of like a Toy Story moment, right? You have to create a world that's obviously impossible, but you don't question anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think those little details lend a lot to that. And now that you've mentioned it, I'm seeing it all over the place. Whereas when I was watching Tim play earlier, I was just like, wow, why does this look so good? And here's one of many little details that completes that illusion.
I do have a question, though, and I noticed this, and there is some very... It's kind of obvious, and I would have to imagine that it's deliberate, but the world is covered in newsprint, and there's a specific line of dialogue that says the enemies are called scraps, and it says, one of the characters says, scraps and their horrid newsprint. And your objective is to clear away all of the newsprint and bring the beauty back. Mm-hmm. Is that saying something larger about the media in general? Saying that the media the media takes away beauty and covers up beauty with itself instead?
Well, I mean, the idea of the newspaper is that, well, essentially Tearaway is all about you telling your own story, and going on this journey with your messenger character, and customizing and making the world and the characters kind of your own unique characters. And we don't really, it's not so much, that certainly don't think that like newspapers are evil or anything, but it's more that they just represent the noise of kind of everyone else's stories that sometimes distract you from like your own path. So that's kind of the angle we've got from them. And I mean, newsprint is not. It's not a beautiful thing to see a world made out of. So when the world is so colourful, it's a good one for kind of, well.
What I'm hearing is newsprint is fine, but you could do better.
Yeah.
Well, that's the response I always got from my family when I would wrap presents in newsprint. They'd be like, no, you could have bought wrapping paper. I was like, but I like using newspaper. And they're like, no, you should have bought wrapping paper. And it's like, just disappointment. And then that kind of took away any excitement from what was underneath the newsprint.
Yeah.
But I was bad as a kid, and I didn't particularly buy people great presents, so it was just a lot of disappointment in general. So I think that me becoming a journalist, they expect disappointment because now I'm working with quote-unquote newsprint more often. They saw this coming.
So it's funny because I always loved the newsprint wrapped packages at Christmas because they came from the weird uncle, first of all. So it was part of the weird uncle experience.
Oh wow! But there are a lot of places this could go.
Shush! Don't you phrase nothing.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying a thing.
It was part of the experience, and also just because it was different and exciting, and you could be like, "Oh, did he wrap it in the comics?" And usually the answer was no, and you'd be sad. But sometimes you did.
For me, growing up, newsprint was always what fish and chips were wrapped up in.
That's true.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually thought about that before. But as a child, newsprint generally meant a good meal to me. But,
So you were hungry whenever you worked on newsprint areas of the game?
I wonder why I've been putting all this weight in.
You subliminally gave yourself some weight.
Yeah.
You know what? Now I really want fish and chips. There are a lot of problems happening right now, and I'm going to have to address them.
I don't know. The Milwaukee or wherever you live, Minnesota.
Michigan.
Starts with an M. I don't even know if you can get good fish and chips there. I mean, obviously Rex can, and I mean I live in the Bay Area. We have good food everywhere, but I think you're stuck.
Oh. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody that's tuning in, and if you guys are just tuning in now, shame on you, but we will upload this archive, and we will tweet that out as soon as possible. But we are playing Tearaway Unfolded on the PlayStation 4 with none other than Rex Crowle, one of the developers at Media Molecule. And he has been with us a lot today. We had some technical difficulties, but we've overcome them, and that's what counts.
So we have about 10 more minutes with Rex, by the sound of it. And so, like, Rex, is there anything you really want to talk about in this game that you just loved, or you want people to notice that they might not notice otherwise? Like, what's your favorite thing about Tearaway?
I think some of the ways that you can both find things in the world and share them out. So we've got the in-game camera, like a little camera. It's always complicated talking about cameras in games because you don't mean the game camera, you mean the camera that you can take photos of in the game.
Oh,
and
okay.
the camera's really neat because there's a tripod.
Yep, exactly. So you can stick that down and take photos. We've also added an animated GIF feature. So
yes,
I think apart from obviously Tearaway looks very different when you're looking at it as a static image. But it's often hard to do it justice as a screenshot. When I'm taking screenshots of the game for like a magazine or something, I often find it quite hard to just capture that exact moment that I wanted to because it's about the way the world moves. So we added the animated GIF lens so that you can take your tiny little looping movies of things happening in the game world. And there's something just very pleasurable about GIFs, the way they just kind of loop forever.
Right, and they're silent, and it's just we have a lot of fans of GIFs on staff, and it's lovely. They're really lovely, and it's hard to describe them. They shouldn't be because they're usually so low quality. There's no audio. They shouldn't work, but they do.
It's funny. It's funny how they evolved, and like that feature in this game is such a sign of our modern times. How they evolved into the art form of the internet and like our online culture because of the technology at the time. It's just they had this really strange evolution, and like the implementation feels really organic here, mostly just because I was watching Tim do it. It's an actual tripod that you're using to take a picture of yourself in a lot of way, like someone might set up to do a selfie or something. Personally, that adds this personal element. I actually really like that. I did not know about that.
Because I mean the camera was I mean, just like with Instagram or any of these filters, they kind of call back to a certain type of era of photography where you didn't have as many features, and there's something quite beautiful about that. And same, just as you were saying with the animated GIFs, there's the kind of the limitations on the length of the GIF makes it kind of even more appealing sometimes. Because obviously, if you want to, you just hit the share button and share out an HD video.
Right.
Right, but there's something more immediate about it. There's less commitment to watch an animated GIF.
Yeah.
Then it's over in a few seconds, and you've gotten the point of whatever that person was trying to convey, which makes it really unique.
You could almost say it's kind of analog warmth in a digital world, and that's something that a lot of game developers have been working with. They did that specifically. Creative Assembly worked really, really, really hard on that with Alien Colonial Marine, or not Colonial Marine. That was I should be banished for that. But for Alien Isolation, they went so far as to beating up old analog video equipment, running magnets over TVs, doing just all kinds of crazy stuff. I interviewed their lead on that game last year, and it was just insane the lengths that they went through to do that, to make sure the analog came through. And something I want to bring up here too is you guys have scan lines in the game, and as somebody that grew up in the 80s and 90s, I really like the fact that people also really enjoy scan lines still. We love progressive scan displays, but scan lines are still pretty. It's because of my age, I would say, and I would say the age of a lot of people right now. They kind of miss it a little bit, whereas people that grew up with HD TVs, they're going to probably like to say, "What's that? What's going on here?"
Yeah.
But I like that you guys. I like the idea of just the analog because it kind of calls back a simpler time.
Well, I mean, everything about this game is analog. It's designed to be very physical, so that totally makes sense.
Right.
Couple of questions from chat. We got another one from our buddy Joseph, who's our manager, and he wants to know. This is we have to ask this question. What's coming next for Media Molecule after Tearaway Unfolded? Are there any more plans for a toy, the little character in this game?
Well, I mean, we'll see what what happens with our paper characters. I mean, the one thing I can say is that we've obviously shown some early stuff from Dreams, our other project, which is also going on in the studio. So there'll be more to show from that as well soon.
Yeah, and you guys are showing that off at Paris Games Week, if I remember correctly. That's
right.
going to be kind of the big. Yeah. That's going to be one of the big stars of the show.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Yeah.
Well, because Sony set out from Gamescom, and they said we're going to be doing a lot with Paris Games Week instead. And I think at E3 even it was announced that we'll be showing off much more of this at Paris Games Week.
And let's see, one more question from chat. Not question, statement. Do you have a coworker named Omar?
Well,
someone named Medium MM, I'm assuming Media Molecule _Omar says, "Good save on the newsprint question, Rex."
Oh, is that?
So I'm wondering. Sounds like a colleague.
He's most famous for when the Olympics came to Britain last year. Was it last year? No,
yeah,
before.
It was in London.
Yeah,
the last summer.
There was like a procession where the gold torch was carried all around the UK, so everyone could see this torch, and then it lit the fire at the actual Olympics event. And when it came through Guildford, it was a really big deal with lots of security, and Omar, being a very creative and excited person, climbed over the barrier and grabbed hold of a banana and ran in front of the Olympic procession as police and people with high-velocity weapons tried to take shots at him. So,
wow.
Omar, he's an amazing man.
Omar, I appreciate your sense of humor and your bravery.
Alright, I'm going to make a scarecrow head. This could go very poorly.
So Tim was saying also while you were gone that this tickles an itch for him that a lot of games can't. So there's a lot of creative sandbox games right now, and they're like too much for him. It's like he can't get into that and scratch his creative itch. But this game has just enough interaction that he's adding things and changing the world, and it makes him feel significant and artistic in a way that he isn't.
Right. That's something that I appreciate the hell out of Little Big Planet. But for me, I'm just not the type of person that goes to create my own fun. I like experiencing what other people are doing, and that's what I really appreciate about this, is that this has just enough to make me feel like I'm having an impact on the world without me having to create the entire world myself. And I really appreciate that, because like I said, seeing just the little things that I've made around show up in innocuous ways in the world. So seeing the clouds appear on random things, seeing the crown that I made on the ground, seeing the butterfly wings on every butterfly in the rest of the game is huge. So it makes me feel, now that I know the type of impact that I'm having, it makes me want to put more thought into what I'm creating. And that's something that I would never get if I were just to play something like Super Mario Maker or Little Big Planet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, because obviously, like you were saying with LBP, it was There was the play component and then the create component, and not everyone's going to dive into create. And what we wanted to do with Tearaway was make sure that all players experience it all, and all of those creative moments, they are just moments, and they add up. So you're only being taken out of, well, like traditional gameplay for a few seconds, but you start to see all of this stuff reflected back to you, and seeing it, like making the crown for the squirrel. The fact that the crown is on the squirrel and the squirrel's animated and jumping around, you feel almost like you made that squirrel yourself. So,
right, definitely.
That is quite a terrifying scarecrow head.
That's the idea. I want to see where I can go with this. Right,
you're gonna sparkle a whole new world of creativity for Tim.
Oh my God! Oh wow, that scarecrow is terrifying. Also, it got really dark when they said, "Oh yeah, we cut his head off and then we put it in the attic, and now the crows are after us."
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of darker undertones under the game. Everyone's kind of like, oh, it's a charming, beautiful game for kids, but actually, the origins of it, a lot of the folk tales and things that inspired me and Kenny when we were coming up with the story, they're not quite Pixar.
No. So what would you say are some of the more subversive things that you hid within the game under this bright and colorful exterior?
I think that was a particularly good example of the fact that the mummers, the characters all through this area, they're very superstitious characters, and they make connection. They know there's some kind of force outside of their world they live in, some kind of person who seems to be controlling it, but they don't really know who they are, and they make all kinds of false connections, and they're kind of misinterpreting a lot of your actions. So yeah, the example there of them sawing the head off a scarecrow because they were worried about what it was going to do to them, when ironic the one thing that was helping them keep the crows from pecking their eyes out.
Wow.
I mean, that's a wonderful thing about children's themed art. Like, now I'm saying this is a kid's game, but it's like you see the art in a lot of children's books. If you make something look innocent enough, it can be so dark, and it's totally not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, all classic fairy tales all have a very dark, beginning. They've maybe been kind of sort of brightened up over the years.
Sometimes, if you're not in the Disney version, sometimes they have a really dark ending too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because they're supposed to teach, a lot of them in particular, are supposed to teach these morals, and like the best way to do that is to be very harsh. Like this is the lesson. Get it through your head, you child. And it's that's just how they were, and it's just kind of funny to see how that's affected. Like that's part of the game now, is like that attitude.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, this has been an excellent stream. Sean, you were saying?
Oh, I was asking how much more of Rex's time can we waste before he finally goes home and eats dinner?
Because we have 10 minutes left. So if you need to skedaddle, that's totally okay. We understand it's very late for you. So.
I should probably go in a couple minutes.
Okay, that's cool. Because that's right with the time of our end of our stream. So that totally works.
Okay, cool.
So, what are you going to do now? Or is there anything that you're looking forward to playing now that you're kind of... Essentially, you might effectively be done working on Tearaway for PlayStation 4. Is there any chance that you're going to be able to take some time and relax and play some games? Is there anything that's coming out that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing kind of quite a cross-section of things. So I'm digging into MGS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you unlocked the horse defecating mechanic yet?
I have, yes.
I have not gotten that far.
That's the only reason Tim's playing. He's a terrible person.
What else am I playing? Super Time Force, which I'm loving.
Oh, yeah, we streamed that last week. It's very good. It's really good.
Great. Yeah. And then at the other end of the scale, Pillars of Eternity, which is going to keep me busy for a long time.
Okay, that's the way I'm looking at Metal Gear right now. Is that it's nice because I haven't played a Metal Gear game since Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance on the original Xbox, and so I have no investment in the story, and I'm able to just play it as a stealth game. And it surprised me how good it is as just a stealth game, which I'm really happy about. Also, that intro is absolutely bananas.
Yes.
And I think we're going to be streaming that game next week. So there's that.
Well, I mean, some of the stuff that Kojima does with the fourth wall breaking is something that does. It's something that I personally really enjoy, and it's something that's been able to bring into Tearaway as well. I was always trying to think of that moment that's like the swapping the pads.
For the Psychomantis battle.
Yeah, exactly. We spent a long time trying to figure out whether we could use the TV remote for some kind of gameplay. So, maybe having a section where you'd have to turn the brightness right up on your TV in order to read a secret message or something. But, or turn the volume all the way up and then play a really loud sound at you or something like that.
That's really cool. That's really neat. And yeah, so just seeing just the things that Kojima is doing, and I feel, I don't know, the first part of the game specifically feels incredibly authored. It feels very, like, everything is very deliberate, and there's a very heavy, saying it has a heavy hand on it has a negative connotation, but it definitely feels like a directed experience. And to me, it feels very reminiscent of PT, which was the playable teaser, and I'm way into that. It's an absolute travesty that we're not going to see what Kojima's vision of what Silent Hills was going to be, but it happens.
I still have not played that game. I don't think I'll ever play a Metal Gear Solid game.
Well, you can watch me stream it.
I will watch you stream it, and that will be how I satisfy that itch.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you once again to Rex. Thank you for joining us and for being patient and dealing with the technical issues. And everybody, I want to say you should go out if you want something absolutely different for your PlayStation 4. You should go out and you should pick this game up because it is unlike anything you've played before. And even if you've played it on the Vita, from the sounds of it, it is still a very much a different game, and it's well worth your time. So, for Engadget, I am Timothy Sepla.
I'm Sean Buckley.
And for Media Molecule, Rex Crowle has joined us. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow on our stream of Super Mario Maker.